Hello everybody, this is Joey from the Chart Guys. I've been trading for 7 years and learning under Dan for 6 of those years, and ended up stalking him and moving down to North Carolina, and now I live about 20 minutes away from him, and I'm here to talk about some crypto. So obviously, as everybody knows who's tuning in now, we had a pretty gnarly flush this morning, and from top to bottom, 11.18%. And that is getting our weekly consolidation underway. It is only marginal at this point, and the main thing that we will be asking from here is, all right, bears got the sucker punch in. Can they follow through? Can they confirm a 4-hour see 4-hour downtrend continuation from here? Can they confirm a daily downtrend from here? And that's the next big question. That's what bears want to do. Bulls want to see a decent 4-hour bounce up and then reconfirm a 4-hour uptrend to ultimately stay within this sideways tightening range. So we knew after the 11-week weekly stair step that it wouldn't be shocking to see weekly consolidation. And we got a little bit of a clue from the broader market, and that was talked about in the morning crypto rundown. And I think Dan talked about it over the weekend that, we've got the broader market breaking its weekly stair step for the first time in several months, and that has us be a bit more cautious. Oh, that's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. That has us a bit more cautious that BTC may follow, and follow it did. So from here, let's zoom in, see what we've got. We've got our hourly bounce underway, and more pullback already than bulls would want to see. At this point, we are pretty much in the halfway zone between the flush low and the bounce high. And when we zoom into the 5-minute to look at what topped out that bounce high, it was the 5-minute reverse backburner. And you'll see that on several coins out there where we hit 5-minute overbought, that set the hourly lower highs. And that is not what we want to see if you are a bull. So we'll have to see what we get from here. Obviously, lots of talk around the ETF as it has been for months and months at this point, and we've got the NASDAQ meeting with the SEC today. That was this little volume increase here, and we'll see what that brings. We know we've got a lot of folks looking at the January 10th date for that potential ETF announcement, and the big question everybody's asking is it going to be sell the news? Is it going to be buy the news? And the bottom line is that nobody knows, but now that we've gotten some weekly consolidation underway, and again, very light weekly consolidation at this point. But for me personally, that tips the odds a little bit further away from sell the news. I still kind of think that it will eventually be a sell the news, mainly because when we look at the 6-month chart, we know it would not be shocking to see a lower high compared to all-time highs. And let's see, let's get a different exchange here with some more history. If we look at the Coinbase, and we can just look at the quarterly for this actually. It's awfully reminiscent to the 2018 top into the bear market through 2019, and we had this tightening range that then eventually broke bull. So are we going to see something similar to that? Maybe. And I know there's a lot of folks that are like, how could this be sell the news? It fundamentally changes everything, and it's going to bring in all this new money and all of that, and I'm with you on that. Obviously, it's a big thing, bigger picture for Bitcoin. It's huge. That's what all the Bitcoin maxis have been looking towards for ages, and that is magnificent. But we've got to separate the charts and the fundamentals, because it's not a one-to-one relationship. That's not how the game works. And a really good example of this is if we look to the cannabis sector. And let's go back in time to here. On October 17th, 2018, we had cannabis becoming legal in Canada. So, previously illegal through all of this move up, and then it becomes legal. Well, that means that we should be going to the absolute moon, right? No, we've never seen those prices again. And I'm not saying this is the fate for Bitcoin, because obviously they're very fundamentally different, but it's just to shine a light on the reality that just because you get solid fundamental news does not mean that the charts need to continue to go up from there. So my approach to this, and I encourage everybody to take a somewhat of a similar approach. Is you don't need to create your opinion, set it in stone, and then stick to it and be unwavering. I'm very open to continued upside and new all-time highs on the ETF stuff. I'm very open to a sell the news, but neither of those scenarios are just going to snap your fingers and it's going to happen. We're going to see signs. If it's not a sell the news, if the ETF is approved, there's no doubt going to be a solid spike up. If it's not going to be sell the news, bulls are going to hold the gains. 5-minute back burner is going to set a higher low and go to higher highs than the 15-minute back burner, then the hourly back burner. Those back burners will hit. If it is going to be sell the news, we'll spike up and we'll rip back down, and then we'll know that that's what we're working with. So I encourage everybody to have a plan for both scenarios, because the thing is we don't have to make a prediction, stick to it, and then depend on being right. In this game of active trading, being nimble is definitely part of the gig. And another thing you can do, as Dan talked about in the weekend alt video, you can hedge via other instruments. If you know that you are long BTC and you want to hold it, you can short something else that's weak. So I'm going to bring that clip up here before we go through all of our tickers, and that's that. So let me bring this over. Got to do a little OBS adjusting, and I'll get my face out of the way. Let's listen to what Dan's got to say, or had to say.
As far as the bear side of things, a couple names to be keeping an eye on: Sushi and LTC, just because they have weekly lower highs potentially shaping up. Sushi, anything under 150 is a weekly lower high. And so right now, bulls are still keeping control. 12-hour EMA 12, we've been grinding up this for an entire week plus. If we lose that for the first time, a weekly lower high is likely shaping up. And then we would look for the possibility that Sushi sees a bit of a tightening range. But if you're looking bearish, or if you want to hedge long positions, like you could say, I have a swing position in Bitcoin and I'm not going to sell into weekly consolidation because I know it's inevitable and I'm confident in the longer term uptrend. That's fine. But you can also look to hedge. If you know you're not going to sell Bitcoin and you're going to hold through a 10% to 20% pullback on the weekly chart, then you can look at weaker coins. And the weaker coins are names that have resistance from a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago that aren't at fresh highs. And so Sushi has resistance that bears are going to try and position off of. Litecoin has resistance at 79.53. This is a possible weekly head and shoulders. We know that a monthly lower high on Litecoin is the most likely scenario because it's anything under 115. There's tons of space for a monthly lower high to form. So if I determine that a monthly lower high is the most likely scenario, I zoom into the weekly chart and I look for indications that tell me that that is indeed shaping up. I establish a thesis on the longer term time frame based on probabilities. I zoom into the shorter term time frame to either confirm or deny that thesis. And so I can say, okay, a weekly head and shoulders would confirm my monthly most likely scenario. What do we need for a weekly head and shoulders to shape up? Well, a daily would need to. This would be a daily head and shoulders. If we fail the recent high of 77.64 and confirm a daily downtrend, the weekly lower high is likely being set. So it's just one time frame at a time on down the line. And so I can say that if the monthly is going to shape up, we need a daily head and shoulders into a weekly head and shoulders into a monthly lower high. And so obviously, if Sushi or Litecoin bears are going to get any follow through, they likely need Bitcoin to begin weekly consolidation. But knowing that weekly consolidation in Bitcoin is on the table at any point, considering we've gone straight up with no weekly consolidation in the last 2.5 months, we definitely want to be in both mindsets. You can be a bull, but put on your bear glasses and analyze things from what would a bear be looking at. And that helps you from getting overly biased in one direction or the other. Checking in on the
All right. So obviously he absolutely nailed that, and we'll get into these charts some more, but LTC ended up playing out, Sushi ended up playing out, and it's just a great example of why it's important to always be weighing out both sides of the equation, and a great example of how you can be hedging against your Bitcoin. And just like you said, 10% pullback for weekly consolidation, and who knows if this is the bottom or isn't the bottom, but it's a great tactic for that. So, and kind of just to talk about the nature of technical analysis more, does Dan have a magic 8 ball? Is he rigging the market? Is he doing this, doing that? No, he's just working with probabilities. He's listening to what the charts are showing us and not trying to force his will on the charts. Like, he's bullish some stuff and was bearish those two names at that time because of what the charts were showing us. So it's so important to be fluid, let our egos subside, and just take what the market is giving us. So if we move through, and we will just look through those in more detail. For LTC USD, it was the potential monthly lower high. We'll zoom in here. Monthly lower high off 12 EMA. We had the weekly head and shoulders pattern, And for the weekly lower high, we had a daily head and shoulders. And just as he laid it out, daily head and shoulders into weekly head and shoulders to get the monthly lower high set. And Sushi ended up being the weekly pullback. Many other names go into new highs. Still a lot of resistance or area till resistance on Sushi. So we know a lower high here was much more likely than many other names. And then it rolled over, got the monthly consolidation underway. And now over these next few days, we'll really see what we're dealing with here, because at this point, like on Sushi, that's a weekly downtrend confirmed without follow through. Bulls still have a lot of recovering to do. They need to regain the 4-hour uptrend, regain the daily uptrend. But if that happens from here, then we're certainly looking at a monthly bull flag. And we know that consolidation is part of a healthy chart. So next few days are going to be really telling, because we'll likely find out, going back to Bitcoin here, do bears take us to new lows? Do they succeed in following through on the sucker punch? If we go back, we've seen some sucker punches. Here was a pretty solid sucker punch, and bears did get to new lows, but immediately we knew, okay, that's not the new lows that bears were looking for, and then bulls recovered. So this is no different. Anybody who's in the crypto space regularly knows these wicked candles come decently frequently when you compare it to equities or indices or anything like that. So clear short-term resistance going to be 43,567 here on Bitcoin. And looks like we have bulls trying to shape up this hourly higher low. Let's zoom on in. So that's a bit of a flush down here. 5-minute bounce, and bulls going to need to regain the 5-minute uptrend to get an hourly higher low set. And then we'll be keeping eyes on that high up there. So moving on to ETH. And we have a weekly bull flag confirming without follow through. So very often we'll see bull flags confirming without follow through, marking a larger time frame pivot. So is this the first sign that monthly consolidation is going to shape up here? I don't know. We'll have to find out. Same as everybody else. Everybody's in the same boat. Can bears break the sucker punch lows? And we'll probably have some names that do, some names that don't, unless we get an ETF decision that has everybody doing the same thing, or something significant in the overall financial markets in general. So ETH, we can see it's a bit weaker here. If we look at the 15-minute, when Bitcoin confirmed its 15-minute uptrend, ETH rejected from resistance, and now we've got a 15-minute tightening range. So the direction this 15-minute tightening range breaks will tell us, are we getting a 4-hour bounce underway, where then we'll be looking for a lower high, or is the move going to continue down and we're looking back down to those fear lows? So ETH BTC continues to be weak. We know it's been weak for quite some time. We know we're battling down by this resistance, and it wouldn't be shocking to see bulls hold it and stay within a quarterly tightening range, but they're not going to do that if they can't get over weekly 12 EMA. It's been rejecting now since we got below in June. So half a year it's been rejecting, and nothing changes in terms of ETH relative strength until this weekly 12 EMA is no longer in the picture. So LTC, already talked about that, and we're down near our lows. We've got bulls trying to hold 59.73 support, but I definitely care more so about this 57.64. And we'll look to see, can bulls shape up a monthly higher low, or are bears going to reconfirm a monthly downtrend from here? And let's see what that would be on the quarterly. So it's still just quarterly consolidation, and even if bears do confirm that monthly downtrend, I would anticipate a quarterly higher low compared to 40.32. So just going to go one day at a time there. And really, I've just got no interest in LTC as long as LTC BTC continues to look like this. You know, we're on the quarterly chart right now, and aside from that scam wick, we're at all-time lows. And we've got clear 3-day 12 EMA resistance, and that is the guide. And one thing that I really like to do with these ratio charts is very often you'll find them riding an EMA. Like we've got ETH BTC riding weekly 12 EMA. We have LTC BTC riding the 3-day 12 EMA. And I'll just wait for that to change before I start looking in the other direction on that name. And the best example of it recently was YFI BTC. We had a 2-day 12 EMA, and you certainly can't anticipate this type of follow through on it. But it's, that's the whole thing with trading. You never know what you're going to get. You just know that odds are shifting, and then you throw your hat into the fire and see if you can capitalize on it. Sometimes you're blessed with a move like that. Sometimes you just get a little dinker up and over, and then it drops back down. But if we move the chart like this, this is what we were watching and talking about in the room. And we're saying, okay, we got 2-day 12 EMA resistance on YFI BTC. As long as it's below that, it's a bear. And then when it got back and over, it became a bull. And now we're doing it again. And we're just going to run the same playbook. And that's the cool thing with trading and learning TA is that it seems complicated. Like there's so much, and it's decently involved. But once you get the curriculum down, you'll find that it's the same stuff on every name, on every asset, across every market. It's the same stuff. We see the same things play out again and again and again. And then the more times you see it, the more it's just ingrained in you, and you don't have to think so much. It's not like conscious evaluation. It's just kind of like subconscious perception of these things and zooming in and out between the different time frames. It just becomes second nature with that. So I encourage everybody to get yourself a BTC ratio watch list, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a moment. But I've got all my ratios here, and this is where I start scouting. I start with the ratios to see what has relative strength, what has relative weakness, because if you're positioning bull on something with relative strength and bear on something with relative weakness, your odds of seeing the trade succeed are so much higher because you have that tailwind in your favor. So that's where I start my scouting. I'm looking for ratio most likely scenarios, and then once I identify what's going on there, then I'll go to the USD pairing, see if we have any of our trading tools or patterns that are setting up, head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, falling wedge, stair step, anything like that. So that's my order of operations with these things. And a good example right now, we can look at Rune BTC, and let's see here. I'm looking for a weekly higher low on Rune BTC. We know we had a beastie move up. We know we're riding the weekly 12 EMA. This flush pushed us down a little bit, but Rune was one of the better bouncers off the low. So keep an eyes out. Is Rune BTC going to set a weekly higher low? Perhaps. Bulls will have to regain the daily uptrend, but then we can go look at Rune USDT, and then, it's pretty similar to the ratio chart right now. So that one's kind of simple. You don't have to change up too much, but definitely some falling wedge psychology here. And we can go ahead and try to draw that on, probably do something like that and something like that. Obviously a fat wick down there, but lower low, no follow through, lower low, no follow through, another lower low, no follow through. That's telling us that the bears don't really have much going on for them. So bull's going to need to get up and over the morning high of 616 if they want to try to shape up that weekly higher low. And, that hinges on everything that we've talked about with these other coins. You need to regain a 4-hour uptrend, need to regain a daily uptrend. It's always one step at a time. But that's a decent example of how you can use these ratio charts. And the other thing that I like to use these ratio charts for is when we get a big dump like we did today. I go to my ratio watch list and I sort it by percentage, and then that tells me who's doing the worst and who's doing the best. And it can just help you figure out what hourly high or low do you want to buy. You want to buy one of the ones with these strong ratio charts. And it just gets you playing in the right field. So it's a very straightforward and pretty much easy way to get yourself positioned in a relatively strong name. So to move through, let me get back, and you can see we'll talk about this in a second. SEI BTC in a league of its own, ICP as well, really, and ASTR. Those are three very, very strong names in a sea of red. So those are good names to be focusing on. So let's go back to our other watch list here, and we'll go ahead and look at SEI. And this is the power and beauty of blue sky breakout. Is it a coincidence that one of the names that V-shaped to new highs is at blue skies as opposed to having weekly resistance just overhead? No, it's not. It's certainly not. Pull back right into daily 12 EMA, move on up to new highs, You love to see it. And another one of those relatively strong names, ICP. We've been riding daily 12 EMA for over a month. Pullback, holds daily 12 EMA, and then pushes back right to the highs. So not to new highs yet, but look at this bounce. Look at where we stand here and look at where Bitcoin stands. Very, very clear relative strength. So those ratio charts can help you suss that out right out of the gate. So let's see what else we got here. OP, another one of the stronger bouncers here. You can see, just look at this and then look at Bitcoin. You can see how OP is positioned better. And when we zoom on out, what do you know? It's another blue sky bull. So when you have blue sky bulls, they warrant focus because it's from a technical perspective, it's a completely different fundamental game in terms of auction theory and supply and demand, because you don't have any supply overhead. You don't have people waiting to unload on you. You've just got nothing. You're in price discovery. So that is a completely different deal than something like LTC that just has eons and eons of bags up overhead that you have to battle through. So seek out those blue sky bulls. What else we got? Matic. Matic, weekly tightening range, bull break, no follow through. So is this the first sign that we're getting a quarterly lower high shaping up on Matic? Let me get this sized right. This is a beautiful quarterly equilibrium, and anything below 156.81 would be a quarterly lower high. We know our flags confirming without follow through oftentimes mark those larger time frame pivots. Using a weekly flag without follow through to look for a quarterly lower high, it's a bit of a stretch between the time frames, because typically you want to be using like your monthly nested within your quarterly, but you can be more aggressive with it, especially when you have a very clear pattern like this. So this is going to be a beauty, and Matic everybody's going to be talking about Matic at some point when this breaks, but that could be a year from now. That could be the end of 2024. We could easily continue to tighten on up within here. So same deal as everybody else on the shorter time frames. Can bulls regain a 4-hour uptrend? Can bears confirm a daily downtrend? Those are going to be the next questions that we have answered here. So SOL, another name, weekly consolidation underway. Absolutely not shocking after a 500% move from our last weekly high or low. So consolidation's underway, and we got bulls buying up the dip. We know tons of room for a higher low, and this goes for every name that is up above weekly EMAs. If we hold weekly EMAs, consolidation is healthy, and there's not anything to fret about. So we could even go down to lower lows below the sucker punch low, and things would still be pretty chill on SOL in the scheme of things. But again, what are the odds that we go up through 259 to new all-time highs, or set a lower high in the quarterly time frame from there? I'll turn off log so it doesn't hide it as much. That's a long ways away, and I would anticipate a lower high as the most likely scenario by a long shot here. And if it's not going to be the most likely scenario, and this goes for everything, there's likely going to be increasing volume. So we know we've got our most likely scenarios and all of that, the whole shtick of the multiple time frame analysis. But when that gets thrown off and you see the less likely scenario, there's volume. And we can look at Bitcoin this morning for an example. In the morning rundown, I'm saying, all right, we have got, where did my line go? Let me draw it back. Get my right color here. So in the morning rundown, I'm saying, all right, we broke to new highs. We got a 4-hour higher low off of the previous resistance. That's what bulls like to see. But if we lose this little 4-hour stair step, that's a 4-hour lower high. And if we lose our 4-hour higher low, that's the first sign of daily consolidation. But no worries, because we're looking for a daily higher low compared to 41.3 down here. Well, we didn't get the daily higher low compared to that. What do we have? Increasing volume. That's how it works. You'll likely have increasing volume if you're not going to get your most likely scenario. So let's see, I'll just pop through a few other names and then we'll look and see what y'all are looking at. ADA, weekly consolidation underway, had a little bit of a tightening range, kind of sloppy, little pop above the first level, double top at the highs of the bounce, and then bear break for that consolidation. And another one of our strong names, ASTR, it's certainly a low volume name here, but there's not too many names that didn't even break the low of yesterday on this flush this morning. So definitely a strong move there, but again, like everybody else, what are the odds that we go right to new all-time highs versus set a larger time frame lower high compared to that? You know, for me, those odds favor the lower high, but time will tell. And yeah, that's pretty much that. That's all I've got to talk about here. We'll check in on Mara real quick because I know a lot of folks are trading this as well. So Mara had the top, and this is a testament to historical RSI levels, and we've got an indicator at the chart, guys. It makes it nice and easy. It takes back through all of your history and marks your all-time high RSI levels, and it just makes it nice and simple instead of having to, typically what I would do is I'd scrunch that up and go back and look and be dropping lines, but now in the heat of the moment, it just does it nice and simple for you. And that top clean off of historical daily overbought and weekly consolidation under here as well, but bulls buying up the dip. So we know we're going to be looking for a weekly higher low. We know if we hold weekly 12 EMA, it's healthy. And like many of these crypto names, well, actually it is a little different here because we are still in a daily uptrend. Well, actually it depends how technical you want to get, because this here was the loss of the daily uptrend, and then we just V-shaped off the lows. So in instances like that, I kind of give it like an honorary uptrend categorization. But, we're in a key spot here. If you are in the chart, guys, you certainly know Lamont is a volume profile master, and he's been teaching me that for a few years, and I like to implement it into my trading. And we can see, just to kind of show how this works, we had this balance range here, acted as support, came down as we fell through, acted as resistance, pinged along in between, and then once we broke out, that was the move. Well, now working off of this balance area, that's what topped us out there. We came up, that's where we had our initial top there. Bulls gapped up and over, and then it wasn't until we fell back down below that bears really showed up. And now we've got bears bottom ticking the value area low. And if we go into the hourly here, we can see it a little clearer. So that's bulls trying to hold the value area high. Then we come down, bulls try to hold the POC, battle around there, and then it's the value area low that marks the low there. So bulls going to need to bounce more than 50% of this pullback here if they want to keep bears from confirming a daily downtrend and seeing deeper weekly consolidation. So those are the things that I'm looking at. Let's see what y'all are looking at. Hello. Let's see, Ed, you have no idea how you made money in crypto today. Against all Dan. Okay, I'm cash now. Yeah, cash isn't a bad place to be. But if you're trying to, you just got to be attentive if you're in cash. If you're trying to capitalize on all of this volatility right now, you got to be putting in the man hours and be there for an ETF announcement and ready to go with it, versus positioning ahead of time and being able to make money while you're sleeping. That being said, I'm definitely more often cash than not cash because I like to be in control and just kind of hit it and quit it, start the next day with a fresh slate, and just try to compound gains with the volatility. So SEI, yeah, lots of folks talking about SEI. Let's go look at TRB for AA. TRB. This one was crazy, and this is a good reason as to why we need stop losses, why we need max loss parameters on our trades, because this is a very quick 80% pullback off the highs. It's just absolutely wild. So we were in blue skies, now a very significant pullback from those blue skies, and it's weekly consolidation. We're riding weekly 12 EMA, and we're now testing that. So aggressive bulls are certainly looking for a potential TRB weekly higher low. So if a weekly higher low is going to shape up here, we're going to need to regain the daily uptrend. So tons of room for a daily lower high compared to 629. Next bounce. And we're relatively weak here after this morning flush. Let's go to the hourly to compare that. So again, this is TRB, flush down, spring back up, and then just bleeding down since. If we look at Bitcoin, very different look here. So it does still have some relative weakness, but aggressive bulls are looking to play off these lows, potentially with some wiggle room, because these EMA battles can kind of take some time to sort themselves out. And a good recent example of how that can play out is looking at CCJ, the sector leader in the uranium space. This is a 3-week long battle at the weekly 12 EMA. We know it's the guide, but when you're talking about larger time frame higher lows, they can take some time to sort themselves out. And in this point, it took a few weeks. So to go back to TRB, and the point of that too is, you can pop down below the EMA and close back up above, and you're still holding the EMA there. So aggressive bulls looking for that. And let's see if we've got like an EMA rider. Yeah, we've got a 15-minute 12 EMA rider. So that's the type of thing that you could say, all right, if we get over the 15-minute 12 EMA, then I'm going to fish this low and look for the 15-minute trend change and see if bulls can go from there. And then, if they get some follow through, you sell a portion of your position, you try to get risk-free below the low, and then you leave your stop there and see where things go. Because obviously right now, the distance to support is quite far, 16%. You can always size down. And there's nothing wrong with just taking scales down with a stop below there and trying to sell a portion to get your risk out of the equation. But I'd personally rather take multiple attempts with a closer stop, trying to get more size off the ground. It's more labor, but the reward is greater there. So very clear guide, 15-minute 12 EMA. Bull's going to need to get up and over that to see an hourly bounce play out with any notability. It looks like we did technically get it underway here by a skosh, but I'm just considering this one move down, kind of treating it like a stair step. Let's see, from Ed, hi, new Dan. Definitely not new Dan. Those are some big shoes to fill, and I'm just here to chat crypto. There's no replacing Dan. Let's see, EGLD USDT. I don't know if I've ever looked at this one. So again, when I'm looking at any new chart, I start zoomed out. So looks like we probably had 2-week 12 EMA resistance, and this is another EMA rider. 2-week 12 EMA resistance, you get up and over, that's when the show starts. EMA rider is very, very helpful. So now we've got, bit of a megaphone here, actually. Kind of a lack of clarity. It's that same thing as ETH with the weekly bull flag confirmed without follow through, but we're still holding weekly 12 EMA. So we'll zoom in more on the daily. And yeah, I suppose you could call it a megaphone, but I don't know. I'm fine with megaphones, but they can definitely be over-purposed. Like, I don't know that I would go to call this a megaphone, but that's a whole nother conversation. The biggest thing is that we got the weekly 12 EMA here, and if bulls want to keep this weekly bull flag from confirming without follow through, ending up leading into monthly consolidation, then they got to hold the weekly 12 EMA. It's as simple as that. So same as everybody else, got to regain a 4-hour uptrend to try to get a daily bounce underway. Likely not tomorrow for any of these names, because to get a daily bounce, you need to break the high of the previous day, and the high of today is going to be very far away come tomorrow. So the more likely scenario would be, we get an inside bar like that, and then it breaks on Friday. So let's look at the relative strength on the bounce. So it's kind of a muted version of what Bitcoin's got going. It got its hourly bounce, didn't quite get to the hourly 12 EMA, and we've just got this tightening range. So you can view it on the 15-minute or maybe the 30 minutes best for this. 30-minute tightening range. That's going to need to break bull to get the 4-hour bounce underway. We'll watch 4-hour 12 EMA for resistance, and that goes for every coin as well. If we get these 4-hour bounces, we're watching 4-hour 12 EMA, just as we were watching hourly 12 EMA on Bitcoin's bounce. So let's see, we'll get back to EGLD. So yeah, that's pretty much it there. It's do or die time for bulls if they want to fend off week or monthly consolidation. And again, another one of these names, if we look at the 6-month time frame, obviously this has a lot more space, or we can probably just use the quarterly. Yeah, we can use the quarterly. And we're testing that little baby quarterly 12 EMA. It only just started printing in the springtime last year, but seeing some resistance at it. And is that going to set a quarterly lower high compared to all-time highs? It could. But if that's going to happen, the monthly trend is going to become compromised, which would mean we'd give back 50% of this move up. That's when we'd be able to say, all right, this looks like it's really setting up here. Oh, right. Revy, thank you. I'm glad you're liking it. Glad you are liking it. Gene Cruz, thank you for the call for likes. Yeah, that's you know, it really helps us when you guys like and subscribe and all that. I know, like, as a viewer of YouTube, when any content creator says that, I just kind of roll my eyes, but now being on the other side of it, you know, really seeing how it affects the analytics and whatnot and who our videos get pushed out to. So definitely appreciate the likes. Thank you there, Gene. Let's see, Stride. What momentum indicator am I using? I've got RSI on the bottom, and then I've got the 12 and 26 EMAs up on the chart there. So, and the 12 and 26 EMAs, those are the EMAs used in the MACD. So it kind of covers a little bit of both of those there. Let's see, ARB USD, we got another all-time higher. ARB, the old arbitrage. So yeah, all-time highs. And let's see if this is another strong bouncer off the lows. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as SEI, where you got this blue sky bull. Bulls are going to be eager to buy those dips. And this one just V-shaped right to new highs. So very impressive. Let's get a time frame for short-term bull control. Looks like it'll be a 30-minute uptrend. So we've got a fresh 30-minute higher low set at 190. That would need to be lost to look to shape up some 4-hour consolidation. Lots of room for a 4-hour higher low. And we know the new line in the sand for full-on bull control is the bottom of this sucker punch. So just you can see, is it a coincidence that SEI and ARB both V-shaped right back to the highs? No, it's not. That's a blue sky bull characteristic. So very impressive there. No resistance overhead, aside from, I guess, this recent little high at 209. Let's check out INJ. So INJ for Lincoln. We got weekly consolidation underway here, and we're riding the weekly 12 EMA. So anything over 14.99 going to be a weekly higher low. And now we've got our daily downtrend confirmed. And again, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, the next few days are going to be very, very telling. Do we get daily bounces from here where we then say this is a weekly down or daily downtrend confirmed without follow through, which tells us to zoom out and look for the weekly bull flag? We'll have a lot more information on that in the next couple days. But for now, we've just got a daily downtrend that we can be watching. And we know that bears are in control of weekly consolidation as long as 4109 is resistance. 4-hour, same as everybody else, can be looking for the 4-hour lower high and look to see if bulls can regain a 4-hour uptrend. And as far as relative strength or weakness on the bounce, I'd say this one's on the stronger side. Its initial bounce was stronger than Bitcoin, and this pullback here was lighter than Bitcoin's. And again, we can just go look at the Bitcoin chart and see, okay, Bitcoin came all the way down to the 9 a.m. candle. We look at TRB, we look at our INJ, and we look at our 9 a.m. candle. We didn't come close to it. So that shows us that relative strength there. So if bulls want to get that 4-hour bounce underway, they're going to need to confirm this hourly uptrend by breaking 34.67, and then we'll scout that 4-hour lower high. Let's see, RNDR for Squirrel Funds. Let's see, RNDR USDT. That's definitely one of the stronger bouncers here. Snapped right back up. And now we've got that hourly 12 EMA resistance. Let's get our larger time frame context though. So we are not a blue sky bull, but we're not far from it. 78%, that might seem far, but on these low volume crypto names, it's really not. And a good recent example, what is it? KI, I think I've got it in here. I forget what it is. K something. KIJU? KIUJ? I don't know. I guess we don't. Oh, there it is. KUJI. Had the letters, but didn't get the right ones. So, we were talking about this one in the room, like here. And the statement was like, or no, we were 70% away when we were talking about it. We're like, well, 70% away from all-time highs. It's not that far in the crypto space. And since then, we have gone a cool 365%. So names within proximity to all-time highs, definitely worth keeping eyes on, especially when you have relative strength on the bounce like this. So it looks like we had 2-day 12 EMA riding. We broke back down below, and bulls are trying to get the close up and over that. So very impressive bounce there. Let's see what our hourly is looking like. All right, we already looked at that. So bull's going to need to break 458.2 to get that hourly uptrend confirmed. And then, at that point, we're right up on 4-hour lower high resistance. So that lower high resistance is 478. And bulls certainly with tons of room for a 4-hour high or low. Got to regain the 4-hour uptrend, and then got to regain the daily uptrend. So daily lower high resistance, 5076. Let's see. Sui is another airdrop coin. I'm wondering if JTO might take a similar path as Sui. Let's take a quick look. And I do have a Chart Guys stream in the afternoon. So that's at 3:15. So I'll need to make sure I stop yabbing by like 2:55. Got like 10 more minutes. So Sui, been a strong coin, snapping up. The dip definitely got some relative strength on the dip buy here. Reconfirmed an hourly uptrend. Actually, no, because that went up and then came down. So bulls would have to break 84.80 to get that hourly uptrend. So you're not looking for Sui though, you're looking for JTO. Is that what that says? JTO. That's weak. That is weak, man. Just looking at like how Sui's bounces off the lows, how RNDR's bounces off the lows. This is more in line with the TRB bounce. But it really, there's not much support here. It's kind of tough when you're effectively, we're not at all-time lows, obviously, because we've got lower prices here, but let's look in and see if that's like a scam wick or if that is real deal. These, I know it's not called an IPO, I guess listing. These listing wicks, it's kind of tough to put much credence into that. And whether you want to call it all-time lows or not, that's up to you. I won't call it all-time lows because it's not all-time lows, but we're effectively in an area with a lack of support. So we've got a daily downtrend that's going to be the guide. And if JTO is going to pull a Sui, you're going to have to get up and over daily 12 EMA. You're going to need to regain daily uptrend. This has never had a daily uptrend. Had a big spike up, daily downtrend, and that's been the case ever since. And now we are bouncing weak. So I don't know. Not a lot of interest here, it seems. Let's see. For ICE, where is Dan? Dan is taking a bit of a different approach into 2024. He's going to be doing some more traveling. He's certainly still going to be around, certainly still going to be making content, but he's not going to be on the the regimented schedule. You know, he's been grinding his butt off for years and years at this point and has, you know, created financial freedom for himself, but he doesn't really have freedom of time. And that is changing in 2024. So all the folks that he's been training up through all these years are filling the gaps. And honestly, I think Dan's content is going to be improved going forward because it's going to be when he's inspired. So instead of being like, oh, it's, you know, whatever day at whatever time I have this obligation, he's going to say like, oh, you know what? I'm fired up about these bull flags confirming without follow through. I'm going to hop on and make a stream. So you're going to get a very inspired and passionate Dan when he does show up. And that'll be decently frequently. We know that, you know, hopefully he's not listening, but we all know he's addicted to the game. So he's not going anywhere. He's just not going to be on the day-to-day grind where he has less freedom than anybody else I know, to be honest. So super happy for Dan to take that step, travel around and enjoy the fruits of his relentless labor that he's been putting in. Already did INJ. Revy heard the cat checking in. Yeah, you know, the cat, it was good timing on that video showing from Dan's weekend video at the beginning of the stream because my cat was trying to get in from the outside, so I was able to let him in. But, you know, it's just him and I living in this house. So when I start chatting, he thinks a party's starting or something and he wants to get involved, and it's only ever me just streaming. So, all right, what else we got for Top Motion? What was that RSI all-time high bar thing you showed? That is an indicator. Let me get back to or we'll go back to Mara for it, just because that was a good example. It's an indicator that we developed here at the Chart Guys, and there's actually a couple different things you can do with it. So this version is just the all-time high and all-time low RSI, and then there's another iteration of it where you have your recent historical RSI levels. So you can go in here and your recent historical will do a look back of however many bars you want it set at. So I've got it set at 1,000 at the moment. And I think NQ is actually a better example for this. I think our 4 hour is just getting some hits on it. So you can see here, if we look at our all-time high, that's the top bar, and all-time low, that's the bottom bar. And then this is just your last 1,000 bars. So TradingView stores up to 20,000 bars. So that's what these top ones are going off of. And then if you just want more recent historical levels so that we can say, all right, we've been bouncing from 4 hour RSI 25 for, you know, a month, we can be keeping eyes on that. But for me personally, I mainly care about the extremes. These ones, using the white bars here, will allow you to utilize the indicator more, but will have lower probability. So I like to just stick to those high probability ones. But if you go to chartguys.com and indicators, it's in there. And I mean, I know I'm the one who designed it, so obviously I'm a little biased, but this thing's sweet. This thing is sweet. If we look at Sol, you know, you can just zoom out and see. No, I need the daily here. You just zoom out and see this daily historical RSI. You know, these bottoms are all marked on it. And this is the beauty of it, is we know that in fundamental, or when we have fundamental stuff going on, that RSI is less meaningful. Yes, that is true, but historical RSI levels still hold true during these fundamental events. We can look at the FTX collapse. Obviously, Sol got smoked, but you know, RSI bounced at this daily historical oversold levels. And then the final capitulation flush, same daily historic oversold levels. Then the top of the first bounce up, daily overbought. The monthly higher low, historical daily oversold. The top back here, historical daily overbought. So it doesn't mean that the chart is going to, you know, they're not all going to play out like this one where you never go back and see that price again for a long time. Sometimes it's just daily consolidation, but on a name like this, that's a 10% pullback, 20% pullback. Holy moly, this name's volatile. Let's see. Got Dan messaging me. Hope he's not. Oh no, he's just giving me a reminder. He's just giving me a reminder, and I'm not scared of Dan. It might have sounded like I was scared of Dan there. I'm not scared of Dan. He doesn't scare me. All right. Let's see. We'll look at one more. Gala USDT. So Gala, I remember just from looking through that ratio chart that was at the bottom of the list. So let's see what we've got. We have got a monthly lower high set off of 12 EMA. We've got that same weekly bull flag confirmed without follow through type of pattern here. So question will be, like many of these other names, is do we get a daily bounce from here where we can then say this is a weekly or a loss of weekly support without follow through and have us looking for a monthly bull flag. But if we go into the hourly here, just an hourly tightening range, that's going to need to break bull to get the 4-hour bounce underway. And then we'll look and see, can bulls regain a 4-hour uptrend? 4-hour uptrend being regained from here will be step one to saying, all right, maybe this is a monthly bull flag on Gala. And that's pretty much that there. Let's see. Daniel says, make some trade so I can follow. Well, maybe someday, man, but you can't force these things. If we're ever doing a stream and something juicy starts happening, I'll certainly make a trade. But part of trading is that you got to wait for the trade to come to you. You can't just go in and force stuff, or else you're going to be over trading and likely incur some decent losses there. So that's that. No problem, Lincoln. D-Lee Crypto. Smash that like button, everyone. Thank you for that. And my pleasure. Glad you all are enjoying the stream. And let's see. Oh, for Top Motion, real quick question here. These indicator templates. You go in, you set up your indicators however you want. Then you go here, you do save indicator template, and then you can have a whole bunch of them there. And when you star them, that gets them up here, so you can quickly shift from historical historical RSI indicator to just a clean look to your RSI projection tool. It's a little whacked here at this point, but where you can see where overbought and oversold are. I've got another one here with my simple moving averages. Got one with TD sequential. I guess we don't need to go through all of them. A volume profile one, a session to session volume profile one. I guess we got to go to something that has sessions to look at that. But yeah, definitely makes trading easy. So you don't need to have like multiple layouts to be looking at different things or coming over here and clicking indicators on and off. You can just single click through. So definitely suggest setting some of those up. Let's see, Ryan V, happy 2024. Joey, happy to see you more frequently on the streams. Let's stay focused and crush it. Thank you, sir. Hope you have a wonderful year, and I'm excited to be here and be streaming some more, doing some more crypto coverage because, I've been trading other instruments longer than crypto, but crypto's where my heart is and where I've had the most success through my career. So I absolutely love crypto. I just wish we had a US exchange that was more legit. If we had something along the lines of Binance in the US or FTX before it died, I would probably have my full net worth in there and just trade crypto. Absolutely love crypto. No doubt I love futures trading as well. That's my main shtick, I guess you could say, commodities and index futures. But if we had a exchange better than Coinbase, then I'd be loading it up and just doing crypto. It is absolutely the best. Let's see, Ryan used the historical RSI for a sell on ETH at 24.28 the other day. That's what's up, man. Let's see where that was. See if we can suss out what time frame. At 24.28, so probably like hourly historical overbought, perhaps. That would be my guess. Got up there pretty close. I guess if you're using the bands, maybe we had that recent historical. Nice, very nice. Always happy to hear that other folks are getting in on that, because historical RSI levels, one of my, as like a capitulation specialist, whether it be a short squeeze that I'm shorting or a capitulation dump that I'm longing, these historical RSI levels are so clutch. And the indicator, it's nothing wazoo. It's like the most simple indicator we made, but like such a quality of life improvement to not have to scrunch it up and scroll back through the chart, especially in the heat of the moment. So glad you're liking it, man. And looking forward to 2024. Happy New Year to you as well, sir. Let's see. I'm going to have to wrap it up. We're 1 minute over. I've got to do a stock stream for the chart guys coming up here soon. So, Sean, if you go back to the beginning of the stream, we talked about some LTC there. So hop back there and check it out. And that's all I've got. Thank you all for tuning in. Happy 2024. Let's crush it. Stay nimble with this ETF stuff coming. Set some alerts. You can set alerts for, we'll just do this real quick before we go off. So one of my favorite alerts to track news, and you can actually see here, I just had it go off on MSOS, looking out for cannabis news. I set these candle alerts for, and I'm actually just going to go ahead and do it on Bitcoin because I should have this alert set. So we'll go to the 5 minute chart and we'll say right click, add alert. We're not going to do crossing. We're going to do moving up percent, and I'll say 2% in one 5 minute bar. We'll do it once per bar so that just continues and lives on forever. So if Bitcoin, the 5 minute chart moves up 2% in a one bar, then I'll get alerted. So you create that, you can set it to the upside, and we'll actually just go ahead and set the downside one while we're at it. Moving down percent, 2, create, and those will now just run perpetually. So everybody set your alerts, make sure you got your stops in place, make sure you respect that if news comes out and you've got a stop, it very well could slip. I mean, it's likely going to be an impulsive move, especially if we get like a denial, stops are going to slip. So that's just the nature of the beast. There's nothing you can do to avoid it. But what you can avoid is making sure that you don't have like a stop limit where say you're going to go ahead and put a stop down here below 40K. If you're using a stop limit, which I know a lot of brokers force you to use, then you want your limit honestly down at 36K or something like that. Because, when people say, oh, well, I don't want slippage. Well, what would you rather have? A stop at 40K with a limit at 39.9 and then have it get skipped and then show back up to the computer when we're trading at 32 and you're still in. I would so much rather get jacked on the initial slippage and have a stop at 40 and get filled at 39 and be out. When I want out, I want out. So if you have a fat limit, then it's effectively like a market stop order. And honestly, I only ever use market stop orders. The only time I use stop limits is to exit a position is when the broker mandates that you have to do that. Or I'll use stop limits if I'm like stop buying or stop shorting to initiate a position, because then I can say like, all right, if I'm looking to short a 40K break, then you can have your stop limit sell with like a 39.9 limit, because you're saying I either want to get in right on that break or not get in. So initiating versus exiting, very different in terms of stop limits. All right. Dan MC, Binance ripped you off. Sorry to hear that, my friend. I'm trading on DYDX right now, and DYDX has ripped me off before too. I had a stop out on Bitcoin. I don't know, it was a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago. I don't even know what time is anymore, but it was like like $300 slippage when we were, back down here or something like that. It was significant and completely changed my risk parameters on the trade. It sucked, but it's the nature of the beast. It's going to happen. If you're taking trade after trade after trade and doing this, you're going to get jacked. It's just part of the game. Just part of the game. So, all right. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. And I will see you soon. Happy New Year. Thank you for the support. Thank you for hitting the like button. And I will see you next time.